Look what you did, you little jerk!
Welcome to another episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast, and we got a returning guest. You may have met him a few weeks ago with our review of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. He is one of the hosts of A Cut Above Horror Review, and all-around great guy, John. How you doing, John?
I'm good, man. Not necessarily all-around great guy, but I love horror movies. So, guys, Andy, Robert, thank you guys so much for having me back on. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad we didn't scare you off the last time. So, and you came back for more abuse. It's great. We love it.
Yeah, we like suckers for punishment.
I'm a sucker for punishment as well, so thank you, Andy.
Well, yeah, we're happy to have you back. And this episode, we're kicking off our spooky September with the great John Carpenter classic Halloween, which has been a movie that has been remade, redone, rebooted, and spawns a bunch of sequels and other franchises, and it's just one of the great movies in cinema history. So we're going to talk about all that today. And yeah, how's everyone doing? How you doing, John?
I'm doing well, man. It's been very hot here in Southern California, and you guys should know that, right?
Oh, God, yeah. It's
well, even for like San Diego, too, you?
Yeah. I mean, probably not as hot as you guys, but definitely humid, and just kind of go.
Right,
summertime.
Yeah. No, because I've always heard about, like, you know, how great the weather is, like, you know, in San Diego, specifically, like, La Jolla area, and so...
La Jolla.
So, yeah, I hear it doesn't get, like, you know, it supposedly doesn't get, like above, like, 75 year-round.
Well, those are a bunch of boozy bitches out there, you know, so it's like, we don't talk about that.
Fair enough.
That's the 20 area of San Diego.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah. It's like being in Beverly Hills, kind of like where you guys are near, so it's like, we don't talk about them so much. But yeah, it's been humid, but it not in comparison to like Midwest or maybe the Southeast, like Florida and shit like that. But it's been hot out of here, so not so comfortable.
Yeah. Recently, there was like 2 like tropical storms or hurricanes in the Pacific, and like they were like dumping a whole bunch of moisture on us. So that's what that was that from.
I'm looking at Andy's background right now, and he's got a fan going, like pushing up towards the window.
Yeah. I know. That's how well I deal with heat. Like I have the air conditioning going and I have a fan blowing.
He's like, I remember I brought him over a few weeks ago, and he was just he looked like a wilting flower. Like he was done. And like even like last a couple Tuesdays ago, as of this recording, like he was just like like he had to summon his like inner strength to complete the episode.
That's all. You know what? We could say we're a bunch of boozy bitches because it's like we're so used to perfect weather here in Southern California. It's like when it gets hot, we're like, this sucks.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, particularly me with the humidity, though. It's like bad. I can tolerate like a dry heat, but this humidity crap. It's like if I wanted humidity, I live in Florida. You know. It's...
Well, I've got I've got a partner that actually lives in Florida, so it's like we should probably not say that because she'll be like, "Shut up, you guys are a bunch of bitches."
Yeah.
I have no problem with that label.
But it's been hot here. It's been kind of crazy, but we're surviving, and it'll be all right. We're big tough. We can handle it.
We're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Andy does, like, even if it's 50 degrees, he gets his sweats. You know, that's just. In
I know, that's, yeah. I just run hot. I just can't help it.
Yeah,
it's all that sexy energy you give off, Andy.
I know. Especially since I grown my beard, it's definitely, it definitely amped up the sexual energy.
and that's as cold as it gets out here is 50 degrees, and everybody in the Midwest are going like, "Fuck you guys."
I know. Yeah. Again, the title of bitch is thrown around very liberally towards us.
But let's. But yeah, no, thank you again for coming on, John. Why don't we get into talking about the movie a little bit? We're going to be doing, like as I said, a Halloween from 1978.
Ooh.
Andy, why don't you hit why don't you hit us up with the synopsis, Andy, and we'll go from there.
All right. Where the hell's my cursor? Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. Sorry. On a cold Halloween night, 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murders his 17-year-old sister, Judith. He was sentenced and locked away for 15 years, but on October 30th, 1978, while being transferred for a court date, a 21-year-old Michael Myers steals a car and escapes Smith's Grove. He returns to his quiet hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, and he looks for his next victims.
Yeah. I'll ask you first, Andy. How did you first come to Halloween?
For me, typically not a horror guy, but it's one of those movies that, when you're, again, kind of like the running history. Like I was introduced to it like kind of unwillingly because I had a lot of older guy cousins and at times when they were supposed to be watching me, they just like did what they wanted to do, and then I just happened to be with them, and so one day they're I was over and they're like, oh, let's watch a movie, and like, oh yeah, let's watch Halloween, and then there I was, very young and impressionable, and submitted to trauma, essentially. That's my entire life, just being unwillingly submitted to trauma.
I remember how I came to this too, because I remember my grandfather had a huge collection of like VHS tapes, and so when I would go visit for the summers or winters, I would be like, I would watch movies with him, and he had all these, a lot of the the classic slashers, including Halloween, and I was like, oh, let's check this out, and I was probably like 6 or 7, and way too early to watch this movie, and it's like, what am I watching? It scared me shitless, and that's kind of how I was first introduced to it, and I was like, but it's just one of those movies that just kind of always stuck with me, and I have grown to really enjoy the film a lot. But yeah, that's how I kind of came to it. John, how about you? I think we talked about this a little bit in our last episode, but why don't you regale the audience again?
It was October 31st of 1982. I was 6 years old. I grew up in a household where, it's not a lot of money, but the kids had like these little 13-inch TVs where you can plug in the coax cable and get cables. So I watched it on a basic cable channel. Like it wasn't like so basic where it was just like the news channels or whatever, but like plugged it into the back of the TV, which was a VCR TV combo, is that you could watch this movie. And I remember watching it, and I put a blanket over my head over the TV to watch this, and I got scared shitless. I remember going to my parents' room, and I was so scared by Michael Myers, and apparently the score like really fucked me up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talk about perfect like horror movie like themes, but
yeah, and it's like I went to my parents' room, and I remember waking up the next morning because obviously it was I think it was a Friday that Halloween fell on, And I woke up the next morning. I was in my bed, and I'm like, I got to watch that again and get over my fear of this because I hate heights. But I always like to go like on roller coasters or something like that to get over my fear of heights or my fear of a monster. And from that day, it was so vivid to me that it's like I got to get over this. And that's what made me fall in love with horror movies was 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween, the score, Michael Myers. But like from that day on, I've become a fan of horror movies.
Yeah, this really is kind of the film that kind of kicks off. You can trace lineage of like a lot of different franchises and movies to this film, and there have been like more. I've said before. I'm a huge fan of like I was classic horror stuff. Like I love all the Universal monster movies. Like Dracula, Frankenstein, Phantom of the Opera. That's the stuff that I grew up on. And later on you get like some of the Hitchcock stuff like Psycho or Peeping Tom. Those and then there's really this movie. Obviously there's always been horror films, but for whatever reason this is the film that really just blew everyone's fucking mind. And it kind of started off as this, it played in a couple theaters, not a lot of press. And then the next night there's, it's open in a few more theaters and more people are watching it. And then the audience just kept picking it up and like, it was this runaway hit that just, it's just crazy how quickly this really snowballed into something that it became.
I agree with you to a certain extent, Robert. But the one thing that you missed was 1974's Bob Clark's Black Christmas. Because, like, a little trivia into this is that, Bob Clark made this classic movie, like, low budget, a bunch of actresses, and it was, like, a phenomenal movie. If you have not seen Black Christmas from 1974, go check it out. But a young, blossoming John Carpenter talked to Bob Clark about this movie, and it's like, if you were ever to make a sequel, what would it be about? He's like, well, probably a holiday movie, maybe a Halloween, because that's scarier. And then John Carpenter took that idea and ran with it, with the slasher, the POV type ideas. So,
and this is kind of like really the first movie that does have kind of like a Halloween theme. Like most of the horror movies aren't necessarily revolving around Halloween. It's just more of like a scary idea,
right?
And they go from there. But this is like really this is the first Halloween movie that I can think of, it's based on Halloween.
Yeah, the one thing I don't know is, what the lore of Halloween is. It's the season of the witch. It's this. It's that. It's scary times. It's supposed to be this. But what John Carpenter did with it is he made it so iconic in our daily. Our lives, especially in North America, is like, Halloween's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be about tricks. It's supposed to be about this, but it spawned off from, other slasher movies that had been made in the past, and it was incredible.
Yeah. So it starts off. The movie starts off with, we see it's kind of this, from what I understood, based on some of like the research I did, this is the opening scene is based off of the opening scene of like Touch of Evil, which has this like super long tracking shot of and where what we come to understand is that it's based on we're in the eyes of Michael Myers. It's a first person view. He's looking in what it turns out to be his sister and her boyfriend who are becoming amorous with one another.
by the way, that boyfriend did not last long at all.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring it up, but he was a 1 minute man for sure.
not even that. Michael Myers had enough time to look, watch the light turn off, go in, grab a knife, and then come up or getting ready to go up the stairs, and the boyfriend was already down the stairs.
Hey, you know what? That probably saved the boyfriend's life.
Yeah. Maybe.
Fellas, you don't have to go more than 1 minute. There you go.
Yeah, that's how you survive in a horror film. You just
There you go. Yeah.
But that again, that didn't establish the trope of like, you have sex, you're gonna die. Not necessarily. I mean, Judith died.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, until like what, 82 of Friday the 13th. Everybody dies when you do all
Right.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Remember, it's only if you're a whore that you die.
Yeah. True.
Wait, but the boyfriend was a whore because he lasted a
No.
minute.
No. The men are whore makers. They're not the whores.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh boy. Here comes some hate mail.
Now, it's funny. On your podcast, John, you get made fun of so much about your hatred of, or your like, you kind of shy away from the boobage and the nudity.
Right.
Now,
As a kid, I really enjoyed it, but to me, it doesn't add. It's not so much of a problem with me, but it just doesn't add anything to the movie.
no. I'm gonna defend you because I'm in agreement. For me, it's just more. If it's in a film, like if it's just there to just be like, it's gratuitous and it's just there like, hey, we can show boobs and we're gonna flash some cock. It's like that's not the point. It's like, now if it plays into the part of the movie like where it's necessary,
Mhm.
I'm all for it. It's like, and there's a lot of these scenes too where it's like, I'm not turned on by this, but it is necessary for the film.
Right.
We talked about this on like when we did our Eyes Wide Shut review. It's just like, yeah, there's nudity all over that film, but I am not turned on. I am not. But it's necessary to tell the story.
That's the thing,
Mhm.
is that okay, if it makes it more horrific, yes, I get that. It's not supposed to be titillating for me. It's not supposed to be like, I'm gonna watch a porno movie and do my thing. I'll tell you a movie that we watched recently that we reviewed was Titan, and it was gratuitously, there was a lot of nudity in this movie, but it didn't take me out of the movie of my enjoyment of it. It just kind of added to the movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
But I bring that up because this movie, we do see some nudity in the film, but I think it's not added in there to necessarily titillate. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but it's like, I think it is a necessary part of this film.
right. Well, especially at the beginning, but then you see PJ Souls like in the middle of the movie that, hey, you see anything you like? And she shows her breast in the movie, and it's just like, it's Michael Myers in a fucking sheet with the glasses over.
The Bob's glasses, yeah.
Was hilarious.
Oh yeah, it was great. It's a great scene. But yeah, so we see Michael walks up the stairs. He's got the big knife. It's his sister Judith, and it's like, Michael, what are you doing here? Get out of here! And it's like and then blam, like right to stabbing her. And
how about the POV shot of where it's the clown mask, just between the eyes?
Oh yeah, that was great. I love that.
The shot of him looking up at his own hand, like going up and down, like pulling his sister, which was phenomenal. Oh my God!
I love that. I love that POV shot.
It's so good. I actually heard that because they had to do a couple different takes of that scene, and it's like the fake blood that they used on the actress that is playing Judith.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that blood stained her body. Like they had to like do like these like deep scrubs on her, like different takes. So it was actually staining her chest.
Well, again, this is a low-budget movie. I mean, again, if you want to look at it in our eyes today, this is an indie film.
Oh yeah. I mean, just going by the credits and just like how short, like quickly they go by, and just like, it's like this is bare bones, kind of almost like guerrilla style shooting.
It really was.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it felt like it was like 5 people in the movie. Like it almost. It was so. The credits are so fast. Because I think it was like, the biggest paid actor was Donald Pleasance, who $20,000.
that guy not command the camera though? I mean, I
Yeah.
watched it again this morning. Again, I was drinking some coffee, and I got to watch it again before I get on with you guys because I want to be intelligent about this. But I'll tell you, Donald Pleasance just commanded every scene that he was in, and he wasn't in a lot. You think he is, it's the perception of, he's in a lot of scenes, but he's not because it was so
he
short.
got paid for $20,000 for 5 days work. He's in maybe 20 minutes of the film.
If that, yeah.
And he wasn't the first guy that they went to. And the guys that they went for, Peter Cushing, who turned it down, Christopher Lee turned it down, and then they got Donald Pleasance. And all three of those guys are, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee would have been awesome.
I just have this.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because I was actually thinking that this morning, like, for the Loomis character, it's like, what would have been great, Peter Cushing's.
Yeah, he was the first guy that they went to. That's who John Carpenter went to. Is like, please be in my movie. He's like, I can't do it. And it's like I could have. There's a universe out there where Peter Cushing is Dr. Sam Loomis.
Right. Because it does kind of work because, Peter Cushing's, outside of, being Grand Moff Tarkin, he played Van Helsing in the
Hammer films.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and what is Van Helsing but, like, this doctor?
Yeah. Dr. Sam Loomis is Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, if you look at it that way. But to me, Christopher Lee would have been a better choice because I loved him so much in. Oh God, what was that? It was the original movie that fucking Nicolas Cage was in.
The Wicker Man.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. I forget that he's in that movie.
He's in that film. The original Wicker Man is awesome. The Nicolas Cage remake it's
not fun. The bees.
Yeah, but Robert, it is so much fun to watch. Like,
it's fun. It is fun.
Nicolas Cage's overacting is like phenomenal in that. So
it's so much fun.
It's like one of those cult classics you watch and you're like, yes, that's why we love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Oh, he's the remake is fun. It's fun and fun. And but Christopher Lee in the original one is like, oh fuck, dude, he's an amazing actor.
The hair, everything, everything that he's dancing. He's wearing a mask in the movie, and sorry, we're talking about Halloween.
Anyways, but you could totally see Sam Loomis being played by those two guys. But we got Donald Pleasance, and that's great too. And he did a lot of things to kind of like fuck with John Carpenter. Like, it's like, yeah, I don't understand your script. It seems kind of dumb, but like, my daughter liked your other films, like, and so why am I here? And like kind of just to kind of like test him a little bit, and it turned, and like when John Carpenter kind of defended himself and defended the script, he's like, all right, I'm in. It's all for show.
Right.
And that's kind of what the whole film felt like. It's like Donald Pleasance was really the guy. He's in maybe 20 minutes of the film, and he's really the show.
Yeah, I kind of love the way they filmed. It was 15 years later, 1978. So they're driving up to the asylum. I love that shot of the nurse and Loomis in the car, and the conversation that they're having back and forth is so good. I mean, it just draws you into the movie, and it's just like, almost an innocent, not innocent conversation about who we're going to pick up. Because you don't really know, kind of, if you've never seen the movie. It's like, okay, so I met him 15 years ago, black behind his eyes. He just, it's best that he has this Thorzal or whatever. When we go in front of the judge, it was just so brilliantly shot. And in the rain, too. It was great.
Well, one thing that I think was also a brilliant way to do it is because I was watching this. Well, I've rewatched this about like 3 times, for the review, and I watched it by myself, and then I was watching with my wife the other day, and she commented, it was like, I can't see anything through the window. It feels so dark. It's like, that's the point. That's what the director was going for. It was supposed to be like that, where like you're looking out the window, it's just raining, and it's dark. You don't it's almost your eyesight is like you're almost you want to squint at the screen. It's like, wait, there's something out there. Well, I can't see it. That's what he was going for, and. Yeah, that conversation of like where we're kind of getting like in like 2 minutes of the film, we're getting kind of the whole backstory. It's like, and that's what John Carpenter was going for. We don't need a whole background of it. It's like this guy is pure evil, and this doctor is telling about how his experience with this patient who. He's evil. We're gonna subdue him. We're gonna, he's gonna not be able to like move.
Right. Yeah. Like talking about like how dangerous it is, and like the necessity of like the Thorazine or whatever to like anesthetize him. It's like that makes it more scary as opposed to seeing like him like raging out or whatever.
Right.
But just like just like the fear in the doctor's voice is enough.
Which is why this movie didn't need a bunch of sequels. I mean, the one thing you can point out a lot of mistakes in this movie is that, okay, so how did he learn how to drive? But
right, yeah, that's
in between a doctor or the curator of this insane asylum and Dr. Loomis is like, whoa, how did he learn how to drive? I don't know. Somebody taught him. He did fine last night or whatever.
Seemed like he was doing just fine last night. Yeah.
Well, but if you look at a lot of background scenes, as much as I've watched this movie, you see palm trees. This is set in Haddonfield, Illinois, which is not a real place, but you see palm trees. Obviously, it's filmed in Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you see just leaves kind of thrown everywhere, and I've lived in the Midwest for a little bit. And I know that October 31st, everything has pretty much fallen, or just like very orange and very not
right.
green.
But there's still green on those trees.
Yeah,
for sure. So I mean, a lot of inconsistencies, but I think what makes an effective horror movie is simplicity, because you don't see a lot of backstory to people. You got you got a little bit of a dialogue of what Michael Myers is about. I didn't need to know who Lori Annie what was it? Sorry, I'm drawing Linda. You didn't need a lot of backstory. It's just this guy is a psychopath. That's all you needed.
Well, like I said, I grew up on the Universal monster movies. Like there's not backstory. There's not a lot of backstory there. Like you're given like there's this bad monster that is it's like don't go there, it's scary. It's like okay, cool, I'm in. This, or you have the mad scientist that's creating collecting corpses to build this creature. Okay, I'm in. And that's what this is. It's like we have a dangerous killer who we have all the backstory we need. He was a young kid who is evil, who killed stabbed his sister to death. And he had treatment, and the doctor realized that this kid is pure evil, and he is going to keep him in prison forever. Now, you could make a different film out of that, where Dr. Loomis is the bad guy, and like he is like there's nothing wrong with Michael Myers, but he is the guy that is kind of keeping Michael subdued and like in prison. That could be a fun movie where like the doctor is the bad guy, but like you don't need a whole bunch of backstory.
Okay, I agree with you, Robert. I think that if they did that would make for a more interesting movie, and then we can expand upon that of what they did with the timeline of Halloween.
Yeah,
Halloween 2, it became Michael Myers' sister. Right?
Yeah. That's part that I don't like.
Okay, Halloween 3.
Yeah, that I was curious about that, because I haven't like watched all of the Halloween movies, but I know like in like the 90s, I forget which one it was, but yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis says like, "Oh, my brother killed my sister." It's like, but and then like I don't understand like that jump, and like and when I watched it again for this, it's like there was like no hinting that Laurie was a Myers
Nope. Nope, not in this film.
And again, that's the beauty about Halloween 1978 is this simplicity. Is that a pure evil out there? It doesn't matter. No rhyme or reason, and you could pick this movie apart. To the nth degree. Is that there was a problem in this? How did he know how to drive? Why was he stalking these women?
It is a paper tiger. You just have to, but you just enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly right. I mean, and that was my thought. Is just no rhyme or reason. This guy's evil, and he goes back home because that's what he knows, and he wants to kill people. Fine, I can deal with that. It expanded, in Halloween 2, which was 1982, I think 1981.
Yeah,
where it expanded to be Michael Myers' sister.
That's a part of that movie that I didn't like.
Yeah, the next year it was Halloween 3, and what John Carpenter's vision is he decided to make this an anthology. That Halloween was like the central theme, but it was like a completely different theme of the killer, which is what Halloween 3 did, and I love that movie, by the way. Halloween 4 goes, hey, let's do a cash grab on this and make it about Jamie Lee Curtis's niece, maybe? Is that what it was?
Something like that, yeah.
By the way, I love her. What's her name? Jesus, I'm so drawing a blank right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she did a couple of the sequels, and then it just kind of expanded into its own storyline. And then,
yeah.
Robert, you watched the Rob Zombie sequels.
Yeah, I did watch it. It's just
so what they did is added to what Halloween 2 in 1982 did of like it's actually his sister, but you got a backstory of Michael Myers.
You got like because I think like in the Rob Zombie remake, because he actually didn't want to do the second one. He was just doing the first one, and he kind of merged Halloween 1 and 2 together. And there are things about that movie that are good, and there are a lot of it's like it's so frustrating. It's one of those movies where it has the bones of being a good film, but then you just kind of like you shit on it. It's like it's not the dialogue sucks. The only thing I will say this though, the dialogue between the like Laurie and like the rest of the teens, I felt that was a little bit more natural. But there's a lot of the dialogue in that movie that's so cringeworthy. It's terrible, and it's like you have something that the way the movie looks is awesome, and that version of Michael Myers is the scariest version, but it's not a good movie, and it's like we don't need all this stuff.
I agree. Michael Myers is very intimidating in Rob Zombie's version. Oh, by the way, it's Danielle Harris, which, by the way, Sean, he's kind of. She was in Halloween 4 and 5, and then 6 to kind of veered off to another part of a Wiccan cult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the mark. I forgot about that. He's like part of
the Cult of Thorn. Which, by the way, it brought you Paul Rudd to the mainstream. But yeah, it's
really.
Yeah, he's in some of like the later Halloween sequels.
Yeah, Halloween got ridiculous. You got Halloween H2O, which was 20 years later, which Jamie Lee Curtis was, I guess, still going by the storyline of Michael Myers' sister.
Wait, that's what it was. That's right. That was the movie. 'Cause I never.
So that was 20 years later. So 1998. A couple of years later, they made Halloween Resurrection. It was fucking ridiculous. It was none of that had happened. That Jamie Lee Curtis was infirmed because she went crazy, but Michael Myers ended up showing up and killing her at the end of the movie. And then 2008, we did Halloween 2018, which was a direct sequel of Halloween 1978. And then they did Halloween Kills. By the way, if you guys have not seen that movie, do not watch it. It was terrible. I am not looking forward to Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills, you're saying is bad?
Yeah, I just went through the whole storyline, but the fact is that Halloween 1978 was like this chef's kiss, perfect slasher movie. It was based off of Bob Clark talking to John Carpenter. If I was to make a sequel, I would make it about another holiday. And John Carpenter said, let's do Halloween. It's not Christmas, it's Halloween.
Yeah, and yeah, because what I understand, like, the way that Halloween, like, with all the sequels, there are several branching timelines, and a lot of them, they all branch off of the original, and that's where it's like, it's kind of, they do different things, and like, people have different ideas, like, oh, if I was going to do it, and then it's just, it kind of, it does go a little crazy.
Right, not to shit on, like, Rob Zombie's idea of Jamie Lee Curtis's character of Laurie being Michael Myers' sister, but it's just like you made Michael Myers in that string of films, that those two movies, empathetic because he grew up in a very, very.
That's right. I was wondering when Rob would bring up the remake, but yeah, it's like the reason why Michael Myers in the 78 was so like terrifying was because you didn't know his backstory, and and then in the Rob Zombie remake is like you give him like the shitty family home life, and like his sister is a bitch to him, is and like the mom's boyfriend is like just an asshole.
Fuck you or whatever it was.
Something really like so disgusting.
Unbelievably crass. But the beauty about 1978 is like, okay, so he kills his sister Judith. You see the POV camera go back down the stairs. The parents, happenstance of pulling up Michael and pull off the mask, and this kid's got like such a beautifully shot blank look on his face with a knife that is like bigger than he is.
Yeah.
And it was so beautifully shot. It's just like, like whatever it was, like a crane or something like that. The pan out was so good. It was just like, this kid had no emotion. He was just sitting there with like a little in shock, a little
evil.
Satisfied.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, and
I did not need a backstory of who Michael Myers was, which is exactly what Rob Zombie did. And again, I'll give him credit because he does love horror movies, and that's his vision of what Michael Myers went through. Mm-hmm. But that's not the point of the 1978 movie, is that there was no rhyme or reason, because you didn't know why he killed his sister.
Exactly.
There was assumptions of she didn't take him trick-or-treating. The beginning of the movie is him walking around watching his sister make out with her boyfriend, who lasts 35 seconds, and then and it's just like she makes a point and goes, Michael's around here somewhere, let's go upstairs. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
It's a trope of the 80s movies, but this is 1978.
Yeah, right on the cusp. But yeah, it's just like when like in the Rob Zombie remake, you see his like kind of slow like descent into like the abyss, but it's like but 1978 it's like he's already in the abyss. He's fully formed, and that's more terrifying, because like then in the Rob Zombie movies you have like the interactions between him and Loomis, and like and he's acting like completely oblivious like what happened. It's just like, oh yeah, like I really want to go home now, and it's just like, no, that totally defangs the character of Michael Myers as like this completely like monstrous character.
As much as I love Malcolm McDowell, who
yes, I mean, talk about like, okay, like if I know it was too far gone for Peter Cushing's or Christopher Lee. But yeah, if alternatively, yeah, Malcolm McDowell was like as Loomis was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is that obviously there was such a big difference of Michael Myers from the Rob Zombie remake is that Michael Myers was maybe 10 years old.
As opposed to 6.
He was 6 years old in 1978 of no rhyme or reason for this.
Yeah,
it was
he was already evil.
There's no problem with a 16, 17-year-old Judith Myers like wanting to make out with her boyfriend or go upstairs and do what they did. And it's just, Michael Myers just did, he knew exactly where the knife was, just unapologetically stabbed her. And you saw the POV shot of him looking at the knife as it's going into her and she falls on the ground. I mean, to me, that was frightening. And this movie wasn't overly gory. There wasn't a whole lot of
There's 5 kills in this film.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't gory.
Exactly. No. And it's, I mean, again, nothing against Rob Zombie, but it's like, like you were saying, John, that if the Rob Zombie version made him like sympathetic as opposed to the original where it's just like, here's this kid who comes from like this, middle to upper middle class family in like, perfect suburbia, and he just kills his sister out of completely nowhere. Like that is more terrifying. That's more terrifying to me than knowing like, oh, this kid, had a shitty home life. His, the mom's boyfriend was like this degenerate piece of shit. He was constantly being bullied by, kids at school, let alone his own sister. And so, like, you kind of then understand, like, why he kills her. But, in the original, it's just, like, completely out of nowhere. And that's more shocking than anything.
Right. And I agree with you, Andy. I thought the Rob Zombie was more of a social commentary on being bullied or being in a broken household of the reasons why. This is what led up to somebody becoming a psychopath. Whereas 1978, I'm going to say it again, simplicity. It was so simple of just, you don't know why. There was, there was a black in his eye of the devil, whatever it was that Loomis said to the nurse while they're driving up to go pick up Michael Myers at this insane asylum, that there was no rhyme or reason of why he did what he did, which is why this movie's so brilliant.
It's just, like I said, yeah, I am a man of simple taste, and sure, like I said, it is a paper tiger. There's a lot of, like, holes in this film, but I can enjoy the fact that it's, like, it's just, no, this guy is evil. He's always been evil. From, we get the little snapshot from, like, the time he was, like, 6 years old of him just, like, I'm just going to kill my sister. We have no reason for that. We don't care. It's just like he's evil. He did this. We come to 15 years later. He's grown up. He's become this giant person, and we don't know the reason why he kills or who he looks for. But it's just like the fact that he escapes from the asylum. We have the doctor Sam Loomis who knows about how evil he is. He's tracking him. He's the Van Helsing of this movie. And then you have our main characters of, like Laurie Strode and her friends who are oblivious to the boogeyman, and throughout this movie he has been stalking them, trying to find his prey. In reality, Michael Myers is Dracula. That's what he is. And he's stalking his prey.
Well, I mean, I would interject. Interject really quickly. I would say he's amalgam of a lot of different of the Universal monster movies. He's like he's Frankenstein, he's Dracula, he's the Wolfman.
Exactly, and that's, I love that. This is what I would say. Because I love monster movies. I'm a big creature feature guy. This is a creature feature. In a lot of ways, Michael Myers is a monster. He's one of the monsters that is. He is going after his prey. And we don't need to know the reason why he's after them. It's just like, okay, he's stalking them. And there's times where John Carpenter gives us the viewpoint of Michael Myers stalking them, and we don't know necessarily why, and we don't care. And I love that about this film.
I think you guys have a certain point, but I think what John Carpenter did was absolutely what Bob Clark did, is that this monster was not created. Whereas these monster movies were created by a potion or by a insane doctor or whatever.
Right, or a curse.
That it, something else had happened to cause this monster. Is that this monster has always lived in this child.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah. I mean, I didn't necessarily mean like a direct one-to-one, but just like kind of like concepts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys to a sense, where it was just like, maybe it was like the more modern universal monster, but what created it? I didn't need that. I didn't need the backstory of what created this human being to want to do this. Again, Hope is in this movie. You see palm trees in the background, even though you're in, the Midwest or whatever. But, there was something so simple about the way he stalked things, and the way John Carpenter shot this movie was so beautifully done, because it was like a lot of background. You didn't actually see Michael Myers' mask until like 50 minutes into the movie. You saw glimpses of it. You didn't see it fully until like 50 minutes into the movie, and this movie's an hour and 30 minutes. It's like, this movie didn't fucking pick up until like the last 20 minutes.
True. Yeah. Right, and that's a good point that you made.
You could not hold it. You could not do that today.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, because like you'd always have to have like that close up of like the face, so you know like you see the monster, even though it's like and it's a very realistic view, too, because like Laurie's in class and like she sees like this far off figure, and where in terms of like modern movies they would like immediately like zoom into like the face, so like and you see like in all of it like in detail, even though like it's still far off, but it was so you're right, John. It's like it's perfect.
When he actually killed Annie, you don't see his face necessarily. You see half of it. The only time you see his face is when he's choking out Linda with the phone cord.
Right.
When she pulls down the sheet, you see his full face, and then you're like, holy shit! There's only 20 minutes left of this movie.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, you could not do that today.
No. I mean, and it was so beautifully shot. It's just like, it's the trope of Annie going, she's singing her song about Paul and no keys or whatever, and it's just like, oh, it's locked. She grabs her keys, not realizing, probably she's high from the weed that she smoked earlier, opens the door, and it's just like, wait, hold on, my windows are fogged up from the outside? How is that happening? And then all of a sudden, you got that nice little jump scare of him choking her out. It wasn't gruesome. It was horrific, but it wasn't gruesome. And then he stabs her, or you assume, because you hear this.
Her neck.
You hear this like really sharp, like
the great musical sting, like where he slices her throat.
Yeah, and it was like, oh shit. Yeah,
and to be honest, I did laugh a little bit, like with like her death face.
Ah! Oh yeah.
Although she pushed up against the window, yes, that was actually funny.
My because I was showing this to my wife, who I'm shocked that I got her to watch this film. I didn't tell her it was from the 70s. I was like, just watch this with me. I kind of like hid the fact that it was from 1978. Because she has this weird like, it's so old, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah. She has a bias. She has a recency bias.
I just told her, it's like, oh yeah, this is from the 90s. Yeah, I just lied to her.
Knowing your wife, she believed you.
Yeah, I don't know how she. Well, I kind of because I was watching this on Amazon, and so I was like, I kind of like, while she was going to the bathroom, I played the movie, so she didn't see the year that the movie like was from.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch this movie, and she's like, I know the score definitely is what scared the shit out of her, because like every time there was that musical scene, she could like grip my arm really hard. I was like, oh yeah, so she's scared, and it's like the music is so like, even just the title card, like the John Carpenter thing, like like that the theme that he does, like she was gripping my arm real hard. I was like, honey, this is really scary. Like, I don't want to watch this. Like, you're going to be okay. Don't worry. I'm right here. You grip my arm as hard as you need to. But, yeah, and then there was times where, like, but there was these moments where she's just like, oh my God, that she started to hate the characters. Like, they're so stupid. How do they not see this? Like, that's the point. Like, in movies, we are given the idea of we're either ahead of the characters as the audience, like we know what the danger is when the characters don't, and we're in suspense as the characters, like there's a bomb there, there's a killer there, like you don't go into that room. And then there's like, we're on pace with the characters, so we're on the journey with them, or we're behind the characters where the characters know more than we do. And this is a movie where we are ahead of the characters. And so my wife was like, they're so stupid. Stop being so oblivious. Why are you leaving the door unlocked? Are you insane?
Well, it was the sign of the times, and I agree with her to a certain extent. I think that's a fantastic point. But I think what Bob Clark did with Black Christmas, not to spoil it, is that he went against the grain of what any tropes of the 80s were, the virginal innocent person.
Yeah.
John Carpenter actually made with this one.
Right, yeah, he did.
With Jamie Lee Curtis, she actually makes a really clever line in the movie of Annie comes over and says, hey, will you watch Lindsay for me? And I'll think about talking to Ben Tramer. And she goes, well, the Girl Scout did it again. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis is like the Girl Scout, the innocent one, and she survives the movie.
Right.
So it was kind of a brilliant line that maybe flew under the radar unless you've watched it multiple times like I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely a line I caught this time around. You're rewatching it for the recording. I was like, oh God, I missed that line. Like, oh, how did I miss that? Yeah, it's like, and yeah, she really is. They always kind of make fun of Lori because she's kind of the nice innocent person, sort of. She's not, but she is.
But she really is. I mean, there's nothing. She just wants to be a teenage girl, She also does a line. She has a lot of cocaine back in the early, mid to late 70s.
Oh, yeah.
She actually says a line of like, I forgot my chemistry book. And then the character of Linda, PJ Soul, says, well, I forgot my chemistry book, my arithmetic book, my English book, and it's just like, it gives you kind of a character build of who Lori is. It's just this pure innocent girl that just lives life. She wants to be a teenage girl. She wants to date guys and whatever, but she's more focused on other things.
She wants to just live her life, and she wants to do be a good kid. And I think I in a lot of ways I think she generally cares about the Tommy and
Lindsay,
the other Lindsay, and she does care about the kids. And she's probably watched all of those kids, and she cares about them, and she just wants to. In a lot of ways, she's a good motherly figure, even though she's not a mom.
Well, and it's like you were saying about your wife saying, why are you so stupid? I think it was like back in the day is that in Southern California, you actually felt safe of being able to lock your door and just, hey, let's go see what's going on.
She doesn't understand that aspect. She's grown up in a time where that's just not reality.
Right. Well, and it's just a sign of the times. We all feel that way. We all lock our doors now. We all make sure our cars are completely locked up because our Cadillac converters are going to get stolen from
right.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this movie's just so many layers of brilliance.
Yeah, and so why don't we talk a little bit more about Sam Loomis a little bit, in the way that he goes after Michael Myers, is that like I said, we don't get a lot of him in the film, but there's the idea so we see after the whole scenario with the intro scenario we get with him, and Michael Myers escapes. The next time we see him, he is arguing with the personnel at the asylum. It's like, you got to get on the telephone. You got to tell these people how dangerous he is and where he's going. And they're all like kind of like laughing at him. It's like that he might be going. Like, you know, how can he drive? We don't know anything about this. Like, you guys don't get it. You know, and Sam Loomis is the only one that understands how dangerous Michael Myers is. We also get like him, you know, driving off, and he's driving to Haddonfield, and he stops at this payphone to warn the Haddonfield sheriff. But then he also how does he see the truck? And like, he obviously doesn't see the dead body that's there.
No.
But like, how does he, like, what do you think about that scene?
That's a problem with the movie, is that there's a tie-in with the nurse, because they have the same exact like match pack for their cigarettes, you know, the Red Rabbit and or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I heard in the remake of the Rob Zombie remake, so that's where Michael Myers' mom works, is the Red Rabbit Lounge or whatever the matchstick stuff is. That's supposed to be like the same lounge that she strips at.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get that part. I got the part where he got the overalls, because it was like he was a tow truck driver, and got the overalls to cover himself up, because that's where he ended up finding the sheets from the insane asylum, right, Andy?
Yeah, the gown, the hospital gown that, you know, patients would typically wear, and then I think it was a mechanic's truck. But yeah, you know, that's where, you know, Michael gets his signature, you know, jumpsuit, and but the mask is, he gets it from a hardware store, you know, along with his knives.
That was a big problem, because it's like, okay, so obviously we saw that the truck driver was stabbed in the chest. You know, it was actually kind of a nice shot, because it was in the background. You saw Loomis next to the red truck.
Right.
But then you saw the driver that had gotten stabbed, but he was naked, or seemed to be naked, because it was just shot from his from his head to his like chest.
Yeah.
But you could see the stab wound, and it was just like, okay, that was a problem with the movie, is that why wouldn't Loomis explore a little bit more of why, you know, okay, so Michael has been here. Why not explore a little bit more? So yeah, absolutely, that was a problem with the movie.
Yeah, because it's some of the people that have talked about like that scene where like why was Sam Loomis there? And my thing was like, I don't think that necessarily that he was, obviously he's on the pursuit of Michael Myers. These are my thoughts, where he was like, okay, there's a payphone. I'm out halfway to Haddonfield, and so I'm gonna contact the authorities. And he's like, he sees this abandoned truck, and it's like, well, let me take a look. And he sees like, you know, the kind of the attire of
the hospital gown.
The hospital gowns and stuff like that, and maybe he does end up seeing the body afterwards. We're not given that scene, obviously, but I think that he does do a little bit of exploring, and you know, we just don't see the whole thing. The idea of simplicity. So I think he does figure it out.
Okay, let me ask you: Does Loomis have the intention on killing Michael Myers?
I think
there was something in this movie alone by itself.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't, because of the fact of how nervous he is with the gun when the sheriff like comes up behind him and scares him. I think he has every intention on bringing Michael back to help him.
You think so? I don't think so.
I do. I think he has every intention on kind of gearing Michael to the Jedi side, not the dark side. You know, it's just because it's like he's so nervous with his gun. How many other times does he pull out his gun, with the exception of when Michael comes face to face with him at the end of the movie, with the knife, just going like, "I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker," and he goes like, "I have no other choice."
I think he, because the way I see it, he has every intention. Like, if we cannot, I definitely know he wants to capture him, but I think he has the intent to, like, if I can't capture him, he has to go, because he is, yeah. And is he scared? Absolutely. He knows the danger. He's the guy that knows the danger, that everyone else is laughing at him. It's like, you're a crazy person. And it's like, no, he's the one that's right. He knows what the danger is. And he is trying to protect the town from itself, from this danger that's there. It's like, and we have to stop him by any means necessary. If we had to kill him, then we're going to do it.
I thought Sheriff Brackett had the best line of the movie, is that when he comes up behind Loomis and scares him and he fumbles with the gun, he's just like, okay, well, if we don't catch him, damn you for letting him go.
Yeah. Sorry, quick aside. In the remake, the Rob Zombie remake, is this, I don't know if I have this right, is that the guy that's the sheriff, is that the voice of Chucky?
Yes.
Oh, shit! I knew it! I knew it!
That's Brad Corey.
I started watching the remake, but I didn't get to quite finish it in time for this.
I know that voice.
Don't have to, Andy. Trust me.
Yeah. After this, I'll get back to it. But to your point,
somewhere I was like, and I was like, is that the voice of Chucky?
Yes.
Right, but I think the important thing is the question you have to ask is why even the gun, like he might have wanted to be able to kind of talk essentially talk Michael off the ledge or whatever, but I mean if Michael Myers is essentially the great white shark that we think he is, purely a killer, black, nothing behind the eyes. Then,
I think it's an ego thing for Loomis though, because he calls him pure evil.
True, yeah, but it could be an ego thing where
he's evil.
Right, it could be an ego thing where he's the renowned doctor, and he has to be the one to fix Michael, whatever. But I think I think he's ready. I think he is ready to kill. Because he knows Michael for so long and has worked with him, and it's I want to help this kid, but
right.
I know there's nothing at the moment. There's nothing there behind his eyes, and so I think if I have to, then I have to kill him.
I agree with that to a certain extent, but he actually has a conversation with the nurse, and it's just more of like, listen, give him all the drugs, and she goes, you really want to put him away forever? And he goes, yeah, I do. Not necessarily to kill him, but it's just, I failed at my job, so I've got to put him away.
That's a good point too. He doesn't talk about he just needs to be gone. He does follow the law. He does follow those things, but he does want to put him away forever.
Right. I think that those comments were made under the assumption that everything was still under control, and he'd still he'd still be in custody. But once he gets out, I think that's when he has to be I think that's when he has to entertain the ideas. I think I have to kill him.
But even at the end of the movie, he doesn't his initial reaction is not to kill him, but it's just he feels threatened, and he goes, I got to shoot him. And then all of a sudden, I love that line, by the way. That was the boogeyman. And he looks at
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was.
Yeah. Perfect delivery of a perfect line.
Yeah. And, the other scene too with talking about Sam Loomis. And the one thing I was thinking about, the other character that Sam Loomis reminds me of is Robert Shaw's character from Jaws. Kind of the same idea.
Yeah, like a harbinger of the whole thing,
Yeah. It's kind of the same kind of concept. It's like this guy that knows the danger, but no one else wants to listen to them. And the other scene that also is one of the, I think this is also the scene that bothers a lot of the newer audiences that are coming to this film, is the scene where him and the sheriff are working together, and he feels that Michael is going to return to the house. I mean, we already have the scene like where they do explore the house and they see the dead dog there that he has been either feasting on or just killed. We don't know. And it's like Michael's going to return here. I know it. So you do your investigation. I'm going to stay here and wait for him. And the thing that like I think bothers a lot of people is like we don't necessarily know the time frame. How long did Sam Loomis wait at the Michael Myers house? Because based on the movie, because we're seeing all these other character interactions, like he's been waiting here for fucking hours. What is he doing? Like he's just sitting there, like, and all of a sudden he sees the station wagon.
Yeah, Robert, that's the biggest problem with the movie. It's just he has to turn 180 degrees to see from the asylum. It's right there, and it's right across the street.
Yeah, and my thing is, because my understanding is like, because we're obviously we're following all these other characters, so we lose track of the time. But I think in real time, it's maybe been like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And so I think it's very realistic that, like, I think most audience members, and my wife included, is like, he's been sitting here for fucking hours. How do you not see the goddamn car? It's like this is stupid. He's supposed to be the smart, private detective guy. How is he so stupid he didn't see the car? And for me, I'm thinking is like, he's only been there for maybe like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And it's like, he's kind of like, keeping an eye on the house, and he's looking around. And then, after like, 15 minutes, he turns around and is like, fuck, the car's right here. He's here. I gotta go. And then he tries to find like where Michael's at. And like, he's listening for like signs of like screams or whatever. And so I see is like, I see the realistic, how much time has passed? What do you guys think?
There's no continuity there, because it's like when Michael Myers first pulls up, he pulls ahead of Annie. So it's almost like he's across the street from where she's babysitting, and then maybe 2 houses down, that's where Jamie Lee Curtis is babysitting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, so Laurie's down the street, maybe 2 houses, but he's right across the street from where Annie's babysitting, but it's actually almost like a block and a half away when Loomis starts walking. So continuity, there is continuity errors there, that it's right there, unless Michael came back out and pulled it right down the street like a block and a half or whatever.
Yeah. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, because like, are we supposed to take, does time move faster or slower within like the universe of the movie? Because like, yeah, if it runs faster, then yeah, Loomis is an idiot. He's been sitting there for like hours, just not noticing like, the thing, the huge neon sign of the car from the insane asylum, like just off to his left. Or or is it slower, and and it's really only been like at the most half an hour, but still like if he was only there for like half an hour to like, or 10 minutes to Rob's point, it's like, how do you not still notice the car that that has like the seal of like the insane asylum, and says like for official use only, and all that.
I think the latter is much less egregious. Had he just been like, if he had been sitting there for hours and hours, he's a fucking moron.
Right.
10 minutes, like 10 to 30 minutes, that's not so bad.
Well, it could be a singular focus of Michael Myers, and maybe that's the brilliance of the movie, is that he was so singularly focused on Michael Myers that he's coming back, because he said, he came home. And that's where he was focused on, and all of a sudden it's right under his nose. Maybe that was the brilliance or the stupidity of
and that's the other aspect I was thinking about too, where it's like he is so he has a one-track mind. We gotta get this monster. we have to either capture him or kill him.
Mhm.
And that's all he's thinking about. And when you get to that one-track mind, and we've talked about this, Andy, like in different arenas, but when you're so focused on one thing, you lose focus on the whole picture, and you
Sure.
miss.
Yeah, you get that tunnel vision. But
that could definitely be what's happening with Sam Loomis.
right. But what I don't really get is the fixation on the house. Like, I mean, it might. I mean, I understand because, like, oh yeah, because, like, here's this guy and, like, he just wants to go home. Maybe deep down he just wants to go home. But but also he's a killer, and and him being locked up for for going on 15 years now, like, there's that itch that needs to be scratched. And so, like, why would he only just, like, hold himself up in his old house? Why wouldn't he be out killing people?
Yeah. So here's my thing on that, right? So you have Sam. We don't have all the conversations that Sam Loomis had with Michael Myers, but he knows him. It's been 15 years. He's been his doctor for 15 years. And he, like, when he does escape, he has a hunch. It's like he's going to Haddonfield. We know that, and it's like I suspect he's going to go back to that house. Now, obviously, he's going to do more killing, but, like, he's going to go do it in that neighborhood. That's where he's familiar with, and so that's why he brings the sheriff, and they investigate that house, and they see that, like, there's like, when they find that dead dog, and it's like it's still warm, so it recently happened. And we as the audience know that Michael Myers has been there. We see, when Laurie drops off the keys, to the house, for the open house show. Yeah, we know that Michael's there. So it's obviously we're ahead. We were with Sam Loomis. We know he's been there. And so Sam Loomis is making the right. He's making the right choices. Like, Michael has been here. He's probably going to come back. So I'm gonna wait. He's telling the sheriff, go explore this neighborhood. He's somewhere here. I don't know where. And the doctor's like, I'm gonna wait here because I think he's gonna return at some point. We don't know how much time has passed. And so for me, it makes a lot of sense. It's like, and if it's been like 10 to 30 minutes, because obviously, like, we're as we're going through this point, we're following different characters, so we don't know how much time has passed. It's not really clear, and so it's just like, to me, it does make sense, even though it's very simple. It doesn't spell it out. But it does make sense. You can make sense of it.
Sure, and I'm actually going to bring up a continuity error and what I love about this movie, because I'm not going to give it anything less than a perfect score because I love this movie so much. But you say that, so earlier in the movie, or no, it must have happened later in the movie where he kills the German Shepherd, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, the Lindsay's dog.
They end up finding the dog before that happens, right? So to eat, he eats dogs.
Maybe.
And then when Loomis goes outside, he looks to the same way of where he saw the car. And the car is not but like 15 feet away from him. So I mean, he's looking around before he says, like, it made me laugh. It's like, Ronnie, get your ass away from there. And the kids
yeah,
the kids.
A great little levity piece in this movie, but it was just the continuity on what you're bringing up is not there. However, it doesn't sway me from loving this movie and having some, like, serious nostalgia glasses of loving this movie and saying it's perfection, because it is, because you see continuity errors in every single movie you'll ever watch. But
of course. I'm not saying that it's not there. I'm just saying, like, I can see where there is consistency. You know what I mean? Like, can see.
Yeah,
like,
but there also feels like there's some level of continuity of maybe it was shot out of sequence and maybe it wasn't like framed in sequence. Like to me,
Right. So it's really a question of editing. Yeah, because like he kills the German Shepherd at Lindsay's house, but then like the sheriff and Loomis find the dog in his house, and it's like,
right. Which
like,
happened,
maybe that was a thing that was shot out of or edited out of order.
No,
no. And Robert, I agree with you. It's not the same dog, but I think it would have been more effective if it would have been shot in that sequence because obviously
okay.
you know that it's right down the road, and you know this because the car's right there. You know,
Right.
again, continuity is that if the car was right there, he could have gone back home, ate dinner, and then killed these people.
Right. But also then it goes to like because when Lori is running away from the house and she goes to the neighbor's house and like they're at home, they were there the entire time, and they give Lori the deuces, about when she's like at the door, asking for help, but like previously in the night Anne gets murdered and she's like in the car, like the horn on her car is going off and like, but there's like no reaction.
Yeah. Well, it when they pan out, you don't hear it anymore. It's like, well, Michael had figured that out. And the fucking like headstone of Judith Myers. How could you not see some asshole taking some like 300-pound, maybe 500-pound piece of stone out of the ground?
True.
Why do you think he did that, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's I mean, again, because like he's supposed to be like the psycho killer, like who doesn't kill for any rhyme or reason, but he brings this very symbolic thing of his sister's tombstone, and props it up at like one of the girls that he's killed, and it's like,
and they're all like isolated to one room, right?
Right.
Because Bob is swinging back and forth by his ankles, obviously he's like decapitated with the Judith Myers headstone, and then Linda is sitting in there just like with the most hilarious look on her face, like the tongue sticking out and the eyes wide open. Yeah, I freaking love it.
I love that. That was awesome.
Because it's set up for like one of the most terrifying scenes ever, where she backs up into like this half hallway where closet
right,
is,
like maybe just at the threshold of the door, and like Michael's in shadow, and he reveals himself, and
that fucking face just comes out of the dark, which was gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, so here's another movie that I'm going to bring up that like kind of has, this is I'm certain that John Carpenter thought about this film when he was doing this, is Metropolis. I don't know if you've seen Metropolis, John, but it's a silent film by Fritz Lang from 1927, and it's a sci-fi film, but it does have this aspect of where the woman is being chased by kind of this like this monster, this mad scientist, through these like corridors, and it's very claustrophobic, kind of similar to like Halloween, and I have a feeling that like the way that this was paced is he was watching Metropolis. He saw this movie, and this is like one of those great like film student movies where I have a feeling John Carpenter saw this film and was like, because that scene like like where Lori just kind of like trying to like, she's cowering in the corner and Michael Myers is chasing her. It's from this film. It's really interesting. It was like, and I wouldn't have thought about that until like I watched it. I was like, oh my god, this is from fucking Metropolis.
Well, not seeing that, I can understand why he kind of paid homage to that. But I thought the most brilliant part of that scene.
I love the scene. It's so good.
Yeah, and the way his face popped out and she gets stabbed in the arm. But the camera shot, the way it flipped. I mean, the cutscene was awful. I'll be honest. The cutscene was awful because it was like the way the camera flipped, and all of a sudden she's like on the last two steps was terrible. But I mean, it was just like,
was not great. Yeah.
No. But the flip of the camera of like her falling, the perspective of her falling with the camera shot was really good. But then like the cutscene of her like last two steps of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's also from Psycho too, like the falling down the stairs.
Yeah, I thought that was
absolutely.
And I thought it was beautifully shot. The other one was, as we get into the Tommy Doyle's house, of like the sit-up scene, like obviously like she stabs in the eye with the hanger.
Yeah, with the wire hanger.
She gets out. You think it's the end of the movie, and just that grainy, blurred background shot of Michael Myers sitting up is
like fucking Frankenstein.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's scary.
That scene.
I see that's the thing, is like I like the idea of him being. Is he a real person? Yes. But is he supernatural? Yes.
Yeah. But
he's okay. He got stabbed in the eye with a hanger. He's been stabbed in the neck several times.
Okay, so
knitting needle with a knitting needle.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So if you didn't have that score of bum, 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 would it have added to the effectiveness of what you saw like behind her?
Well, you need the score. You absolutely need the score, because otherwise, like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's getting back up, but the bum, bum,
like supernatural too, like where it's like he is a guy that's not gonna die. That's what's scary about it.
I know.
He's real, but he's also not real.
Yeah. This created a lot of slashers for sure. A lot of invincible slashers.
This is the guy that created Jason Voorhees, that created what's his face from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Big Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, Hellraiser, all these fucking characters. This is the guy that created all these characters.
Or he could just like be represented like the like kind of like just unstoppable force, not necessarily supernatural, but just like more of an unstoppable force.
Yeah. Michael Myers is unstoppable.
And I'm sorry to keep bringing back Black Christmas from 1974, but at the end of that movie, and sorry to spoil it if you've never seen it, but I mean, you hear the voice of Billy.
I'm gonna watch this. I'm definitely gonna watch this after this.
You got, and the one beautiful thing about that is there's not any score that will give you the end, and it's just like, but what John Carpenter did with that, and kind of like twisted it, made it that much better. So because you hear him breathing, and it cuts back to the house as if he made it back home, and he's
right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you get that cut scene of him back at his house, and the breathing gets heavier. So,
But yeah,
this movie. I love it so much.
But yeah, it's just it's you can follow the different characters and stuff like that. Like, what do you guys think of, like, obviously, like, we have Laurie Strode, who really is our main character. But what do you think about, like, her and her friends? Do you like how that they were portrayed? What do you like and not like about them?
You said your wife thought they were stupid, right? I thought they were
she hated them. It's
okay.
like they're all dumb. It's like how are they so oblivious?
I think it was a sign of the times. I didn't get any kind of, there's a certain level of naivete as being a teenager, and maybe, obviously these women were a little bit older, because in most movies that they don't play 16, 17, 18 year old.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis, who this is her first, she's I think 20 at this film, and obviously her mom is Janet Leigh, her dad's Tony Curtis, some of the greatest actors in Hollywood of all time.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, but I would say, like, I told her, it's like, yes, she looks like that now, and does she look older? Sure. But she looks the same, like, 20 years later in, like, Halloween H2O and, like, True Lies. She looks like the same, but she looks the same.
I think there's a certain level of innocence and naivete as being just a teenager of living life, because we've all known these people in high school, right? We've all known these kind of peer pressure. It didn't seem stupid to me. It didn't seem out of the range of how these characters would react in these situations. You know, it's just like Bob and Linda. You know, they just want to go fuck. It's that's what they want to go do. They want to go have a good time.
Want to do.
Yeah.
I think that was the aspect that, like, you know, my wife was like, because my wife is one of those, like, where she's always like, she likes the sex scenes in the movies. And it's like where I'm like, I have no interest in that, and she's like, why is there no sex scenes? It's like, we're watching a Pixar film. There's no sex scenes. You know, it's, like, it's one of those things. It's like, there's this whole genre called pornography. You can watch that. You know, their storylines.
There's Pornhub on your phone. Come on.
I know.
And I'm like, listen, you know, you've been a teenager, I've been a teenager, everyone wants to have sex. That's natural, okay? And, you know, these guys, are they making dumb decisions? Absolutely. No doubt about it. And but they live in this small town where nothing happens, and people keep their doors unlocked, and no one thinks about these dangers. That's where the danger, that's where the scariness lies, where they don't understand the danger that's out there, and that this danger is coming, and they don't know it. And we know it as an audience.
I think that's what created tropes for horror movies, is that you see, you know, I'm sorry to pick on Linda and Bob, but, you know, they're just drinking beer and they're having a good time together. You know, they have a weekend off. They want to spend time together and enjoy each other's company. That's fine. You know, but that's what created the trope of, you know, okay, you've got to be totally innocent. You cannot drink beer. You cannot go fornicate in somebody else's house, or else you get strangled by a telephone.
Yeah, fucking at someone else's house, that's weird. I'm sorry.
that's just bad manners. That's just bad manners.
When you're a 16-year-old kid, you're like, hey, if we got some like empty space and nobody's going to bother us, hell yeah, let's go. You know,
right.
But
that I agree with.
Adults, we think about that now. Absolutely.
That's just bad manners.
35-year-old versus 17-year-old me is like, we're not gonna. A 35-year-old me is like, we're not gonna fuck at somebody else's house. It's weird. I'm sorry.
Ding, 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 ding. But 17-year-old would be like, yeah, let's go. Come on.
What?
Oh,
space
but but again,
bathroom? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, not. But to go to kind of talk about the kind of like the naivete of like these characters, but, you know, I mean, not to shit on women, but like a lot of women, they don't have like situational awareness, you know, and so like they, you know, a lot of things that'll be kind of like red flags, like, oh, why is this locked, or why is this, you know, window open, or like they're not really gonna, they're not gonna really take that as like a sign of like danger. And so, like, you know, a lot, and then again, to your point of them like coming from like this small, you know, Midwestern town where nothing ever happens, that to give them credit, like, that they're never gonna like equate like these seemingly odd happenings to like danger.
I'll say a majority of people have no situational awareness whatsoever. Okay.
I would agree with that with later slasher movies. This one explained it away because, like you said, Andy, it's like, you know, nothing ever happens in this town. You know, a wind gust can cause this door to close and then like the lock fall. You know, depending on that. You know, I agree with that, but I don't think that there was, you know, a naivete with, you know, basically Annie was just trying to get the hell out of there, but she was stuck because the window was so little. You know, and little Lindsay just like helped her out. You know, to me that was a great.
Like, yeah, because we had that like that very small scene with Sam Loomis and the cemetery director, who was like, you know, the
groundskeeper.
Like, but the only thing that's ever happened in Haddonfield is Michael Myers. But it's 15 years ago. Nobody remembers that shit.
Right, yeah.
There's stuff that happened like 2 years ago that people don't remember. You know, it's like, you know, look at the news cycle. Nobody remembers shit that happens 2 years ago.
Right. So if you think back to that, you know, if you want continuity, is that, you know, these girls being of 17, they were maybe 2 or 3 years old when it happened. So So
no one remembers like Michael Myers killed his sister. No one fucking remembers that shit.
For a more modern equivalent, or it'd be like us who are definitely like basically adults. I mean, maybe more so for John, but we were adults when 9/11 happened, right? But like you talk to like someone who was 2 years old at the time, and like now they're like probably in like the early 20s, like they don't have like that same sort of connection with the event.
They're not thinking about that at all.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening here. These people don't know the happenings that happened in 1963.
Right.
That is.
And
so
plus, if that's like the only major thing that's ever happened, like they're just like, okay, this is like a one-off thing. Like, what are the odds like something like this is going to happen again? So they completely push it out of their minds.
But he was also like 130 miles away from where, this had
right.
happened. So it has been 15 years, so it's like been almost a generation removed since this happened. So it just
exactly, yeah. So it's like I said, this is all very plausible. Mm-hmm. The way that the characters act. They're not thinking about like locked doors and like, oh, we need to lock our window. And it's funny because the narrator of like the scary movie marathon on for the Halloween, he's like, lock your windows, bolt your doors. Kind of like that whole thing is like, that's what they fucking should do. But that's not what it's happening. It's kind of like it's more of a, oh yeah, the scary movies are gonna get us.
Which is exactly why it made the 2018 movie so stupid. And then they made or I guess they're making the third movie that's just...
Halloween Ends?
Oh, God. Yeah, have you guys seen that?
No, I haven't seen it. I'll be honest. After Halloween 2, I have not seen... I've seen a few of the other sequels, but I've only watched them like once, and it's kind of like just drift from my mind.
I will not spoil it for you, but Halloween 2018, okay. Halloween Kills, don't go watch it. Halloween Ends, I'm not excited. I'm gonna see it. I'm a completionist, so I gotta go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I'm probably gonna go at some point. But I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand why people want to money grab everything. It's fine because there's been a lot of movies like that have been hugely successful, and it's just, I've got such a nostalgia for Halloween 1978 that it's just really hard for me to enjoy any other Halloween movie, with the exception of Halloween 3, by the way. I really, in all seriousness, I enjoy that movie, and I've seen it. I actually watched it last fall, so.
Well, what do you think about like the Halloween franchise in general? Like, what do you think about that? Like, because I'll be honest, I've seen Halloween 1 and 2 many times, but I haven't really seen a lot of the other ones. So
yeah, I would actually say Halloween 2's okay. I think it kind of held true to that slasher, but it just really leaned into a lot of those. I think it just leaned into a lot of the tropes of what slasher movies were starting to do, because I believe it came out in 82 as well. So about the same year that Friday the 13th came out. And then it spun off to Halloween 3, which was completely different. Halloween 4, 5, and 6 kind of followed its own timeline from Halloween 2. And fucking Rob Zombie remade his, and then it did the Halloween... Oh, no, Resurrection. I guess Resurrection was kind of...
98.
Shit, yeah. It's fun. No, it's okay. I mean, Michael Myers is always scary, but then it just gets silly.
Is it just like the law of diminishing returns at that point?
Very much. Michael Myers just becomes a shell of himself. I don't think there's any slasher that becomes more scary with movies.
No,
right, because having sequels, it obviously opens it up to like more character exploration, and so like you're kind of finding more about this person, so it makes him less scary.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that 4, 5, and 6 kind of lead in that same kind of direction of, he was part of a cult is
that's weird. It's weird.
I mean, it's just like Michael Myers. God, I'm shit on Rob Zombie enough, but the fact that he became a serial killer because of his family seemed more realistic than what like Halloween 6 did.
What do you think about the Rob Zombie remakes? I know your podcast is a Rob Zombie apologist podcast.
No one. I give credit to Rob Zombie for having his own vision. Rob Zombie is a horror movie fan. I appreciate that from him.
He's not a guy that he is not a guy that's going for a cat. He really does love these movies.
He does, and I appreciate him for that. I just would wish that he would team up with a very capable writer. Not to say that he can't write his own movies, but like the dialogue and stuff like that. And Rob, you and I have talked about that a little bit. That his dialogue is so juvenile that it just feels like
stupid.
Yeah.
So bad.
And it's just I wish that he would team up with somebody that would just say, hey, Rob, maybe we can go in this direction. I appreciate his vision. He makes some beautiful shots in his movies. He does some really, really great cinematography. I give him all the credit in the world. I've been a Rob Zombie fan. I've been a White Zombie fan musically my entire life. Is that his musical decisions are so good, but it's just nothing.
The dialogue is fucking.
Collectively comes together for me as far as like enjoying his movies.
Maybe he has like the George Lucas problem. He has the vision, but just not like a really good writer. I mean, George Lucas famously, like particularly like in Attack of the Clones. Yeah. Like, I hate sand.
The dialogue is fucking horrible in that film. I'm sorry, it is.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's the same.
I mean, well, George Lucas is famous for like not being able to like write dialogue. And prime example is Attack of the Clones, where like the dialogue is very like clunky and just like and it's not inspired.
Is that what people hated about the movie? Because I've heard nothing. I mean, I know people that love Star Wars will actually go out and watch it and enjoy it. Is that the problem with it?
Visually, it's perfect, and the story itself is not bad, but there's parts of the dialogue that are so cringeworthy, where it's like, oh, God, it's so bad, and that's the part I hate about the film, where it's like there are certain parts of like going back to the Rob Zombie Halloween, where visually the kills are awesome, visually it's awesome. But then there's like parts of the dialogue that are so just like, why did you include this? This is so bad.
I think he paid a lot of homage to the original movie because they didn't really get into the scary Michael Myers until later in the movie, which I thought was pretty good. But the problem is that when you make such an iconic slasher and you make him sympathetic, because I thought. Who did it better was Friday the 13th, because Jason Voorhees drowned. Sorry to spoil this, but drowned as a little kid. His mom got pissed off and then killed all the people.
Right. I love that about the original Friday the 13th. It was fucking great.
Right. And then it became hugely successful, and then it became a franchise, and it was just like
it's the same thing. It's the same thing that happened with the Halloween franchise. It's just. Mm-hmm. It became this whole thing where it's like, the law of diminishing returns. Now, did that mean that I hate all the sequels and all that stuff? Like even with like Attack of the Clones, there's things that I like about that movie, but it's just like, and there's things that I like about all these sequels, but it doesn't recapture the magic of the
lore of who Michael Myers is. Michael Myers is just this evil person. He disappears, and then. The franchise could have ended after that. Not to say that people didn't have their own visions with it, and kudos to them for trying to do it, but it just unsuccessfully.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, we were talking before we started the podcast. It's like, I love Jason X. It's a shit movie, but it's so fucking.
Of course you do. Of course you love that movie. Of course you love that movie, Rob. Oh, jeez. Of course you would.
The last
It's garbage, but I love it. And
No accounting for taste.
and I might go, after we're doing this, I might go back and like rewatch like some of the Halloween movies that like I haven't seen in a long time, or that I've missed, because God, I don't remember much from H2O at all. It's
it's been a while. It's been a while for me too.
The Mask.
It's not good, but like
there's something about the magical about the original Mask. And they've tried to like duplicate it, replicate it.
Son of Mask is bullshit. Fuck that movie.
And then it was just like, why? It was so iconic. It's William Shatner's face painted, and that's it.
Yeah.
That was just kind of the simplicity. Again, back to the simplicity of the movie.
But yeah, also too, like again, like the brilliance of simplicity is like, Michael Myers, like, operating like in shadows, and then like the first thing to like, come into the light is his face, like the mask. It's like so perfect, it's like this stark, white face that comes just out of the darkness, and it's just like you're dead, and it's perfect.
And see that was one of the things like the costume designer, like they gave him like, okay, you find like a scary mask. So they went with like the clown mask. I think the guy bought like a bunch of different masks. He started off with like the clown mask. Clowns are scary, so we're gonna put the clown mask. Ooh, spooky. But then there was the mask that ended up becoming the Michael Myers mask, which is a William Shatner. I think it was like $1.95 mask, and they put that on, and like the entire cast is like, it's like, fuck that mask. That's the mask we're gonna use, and that's what's so great about it. It's like it's so, and I know William Shatner hates that fucking mask. He's tired. He really does hate that mask. He's like,
sure,
fuck that. Like he is tired of being associated with that mask. But that is what it is. And he. And as much I'm a big Star Trek guy, and I love William Shatner, but it's like they're right. They're right for making this mask. It's fucking scary.
Yeah, I'll say this to William Shatner: fuck you, because you're iconic in 2 franchises.
That's right. He's double dipping. He's double dipping.
Dude, calm down. Enjoy your money. All right.
I think he's definitely. Well, now this was at the time when Halloween came out. I think he's definitely softened on that, because he's a guy that he loves playing Captain Kirk, and I think now it's like if people are gonna come to Star Trek because of my stupid mask, I'm all for it.
Dude, somebody's gonna pay $100 to get your autograph on a Michael Myers mask. Why would you bitch about that? Come on. I mean, again, 2 franchises, sci-fi and horror.
Yeah, I think like at this point now he's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna sign that goddamn mask. I would love, and that's the one thing about like this franchise too. Like the Rob Zombie. I would say that the Rob Zombie version of the Michael Myers mask, that is the fucking scariest, because it's like he
right, yeah, because it's a little distressed. Yeah, because it's a little distressed, and they put like a little bit of black on, like a little bit maybe like charcoal powder.
I disagree.
I do like the mask. I'm sorry, I do like it.
I just think it was stupidly set up, because it's like Michael Myers, the kid, the 10-year-old kid, had it at the beginning of the movie, and then became distressed because he hid it.
Who buried it?
The thing that made the original scary is he just stole it from a hardware store.
Right, yeah, hardware store.
But it was like, it was such a big mask on this small little kid. It looked dumb.
Yeah, that I agree with, and I think it's dumb that who buried it, for one. That part is dumb. But I did like the look. I just say I like the look. The look of it is awesome.
Yeah, we should review the Rob Zombie version.
Hell, I'm down for that. This would be like maybe a good October. We can just talk about the Rob Zombie remake, and like how it's so like what can we do to make it a better film?
Okay. Oh yeah, there you go. Just don't review part 2, because that is The white horses. That's all I gotta say.
White.
No, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the remake or the second film of the Halloween 2 for Rob Zombie. I know he did not want to make that film to begin with.
You could tell. You could actually tell, and you're just like,
yeah, because the first one makes so much. It did make a fuck ton of money. It was a financial success.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, it's like the trailer looks great. To be honest, I was excited by the trailer. It was like, I know it's not going to be good.
Yeah, again, we knock Rob Zombie all the time, but kudos to good old Bobby Z for bringing out his vision. Plus the fact that he has Danielle Harris in both movies, and kudos to him for that, because got a little crush on her. So,
but yeah, I'm just when we talk about Halloween, it's it's a great movie, and obviously it spawned not only did it spawn its own like sequels, but like we wouldn't have Friday the 13th, we wouldn't have Nightmare on Elm Street, we wouldn't have Scream, we wouldn't have some of these films that people love to death because this film didn't. If this film was not successful, these films wouldn't exist.
There, that's not it's not the the beginning of slasher movies, but I think it was the evolution of slasher movies. Just the way Psycho did it, going on.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
To go into Halloween, to Friday the 13th, to Prom Night, and then you just spun off this whole 80s craze of a bunch of slasher movies. And then the 90s came, and then there was like this big lull of that, and Wes Craven did something different with that.
Which was great, yeah. It was something different, but it was in the same vein.
Yeah.
But yeah, that era is kind of dead in a lot of ways.
I haven't seen a lot of slasher movies. Sure.
Yeah, and now I feel like we've been getting some of the what I would call elevated horror. Kind of going back to some of the past, like we've been getting stuff like The Witch from Robert Eggers, The Lighthouse. We've been getting X, or Midsummer, Hereditary. Something that is something completely different. It's more of like where it's a horror film, but it's more serious, and it's different in its own way. We're not having like the camp counselors that are getting killed because they're having sex. It's something different. And it's one of all this like movie stuff is very cyclical, kind of like with fashion. There's going to come a time where the slasher genre is going to come back. Maybe it's going to be in 15 years, where the slasher genre, someone's going to do something different, and they're going to, we're going to create something that's like, fuck, that looks great. I'm in.
Yep. I would actually like to see slasher movies come back. I'd like to see a renaissance of the 80s come back. We had enough zombies. We had enough, vampire movies. We've had a elevated, I don't know if it's elevated. I think it's just more of a social commentary or maybe a period piece. Like you were talking about with Robert Eggers, Robert. It's been period pieces with him. To me, it's like a guy like Ari Aster that did Hereditary or that did Midsummer. It's just more about grief. Of what the director's going through. It's just.
Well, there's something going on with Robert Eggers. I know he was going through a really bad breakup when he did Midsummer, which is so obvious.
Ari Aster?
Yeah, Ari Aster. But then, when you look at, Robert Eggers, he's creating these, universes, where, he is, when you look at The Witch, when you look at The Lighthouse, when you look at The Northman, he is utilizing myths and, legends, and he's creating these universes where those things are real. It's not just myth and legend. No, in those universes, they're real. And sometimes they're scary. And sometimes they're not. The Northman's not scary. It's brutal, but it's not scary. But Lighthouse and
but
The Shining, meets Shutter Island. But then, The Witch is that's fucking scary. It's a scary fucking movie.
He's got an H.P. Lovecraft kind of love to him.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, that I totally agree.
Whereas you were talking about Ari Aster, like going through grief and stuff like that. But what about a guy like Jordan Peele? You know, looks at social commentary of his movies. You know, even his most recent one, which by the way, you guys got to watch. No,
I need to see No. I do. I think based on because I did listen to your episode, and I do want. See, I love Get Out. I actually watched Get Out with my wife. I watched it twice. So I watched it once, and then I watched Get Out. I watched it with her. Because I got to be the DVD commentary half the time, like, when I'm watching movies with her. So I had to watch it, and then I had to watch it again with her. But I was not a huge fan of Us. But I know.
Yeah, Us wasn't that good.
No, would be something that I would like. And it's kind of like you said, what you guys said, it's a mixture of like those great summer blockbusters, Steven Spielberg. It's not just a straight up horror film. It's kind of like what Jaws is. It's a Jaws film in a lot of ways.
It's a thoughtful popcorn movie, I guess. Has some underlying themes in there. But it's actually a very much a blockbuster, because it was a huge budget, like $65 million. It's actually made over $100 million at the box office so far. So it's one of those fun ones, but it is a horror movie.
Yeah, and like I said, I was so intrigued by your guys' episode. I was like, I gotta watch this, and I know I can probably drag Joyce to that.
Watch it in IMAX. If you can.
That's what you and Heidelberg said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got to watch it again, and I just went, oh, my God, it's so much better. The sound is great.
Yeah.
So, that's all I got.
But yeah, no, Halloween is just like one of those films. It's like, it's so good. It's simplistic. It's kind of like direct to the point. It's not trying to... do this wizardry trick on you. It's not trying to do something to you. It is what it is, and it's still great. And this is one of those films that has spawned so much. It's iconic. You haven't seen the film, but you've seen the film. Everyone knows the Michael Myers mask. Everyone knows Laurie Strode. Everyone knows Sam Loomis. Everyone knows the story, even if they've never seen the original film. And that's what like Andy and I love. We love these films that we've seen the films, but we haven't seen the films at the same time. Like Godfather, and I love this movie so much. It's so good. And
I think one of you guys brought up the fact of not being supernatural, because Michael Myers does not feel supernatural in this movie. A couple of fucked up things happen to him, but it's semi-realistic that he got back up.
Okay. I disagree a little bit in that, because how many times has he been stabbed in the jugular? Twice. He's been and then he's been shot like 5 times or 6 times by Dr. Sam Loomis. And then all of a sudden he's gone.
Right.
And so Donald Pleasance did play that scene. It was like there was like a couple of ways he's like, I'm gonna try. Like he talked to John Carpenter. It's like, I'm gonna play the scene twice, where it's like he's surprised, or it's like, I knew it. And the way that it comes out in the film is like he kind of has this face of like, I knew it. And it's like, and that is the way that Donald Pleasance wanted to play the role. Is like, fuck, I knew it. He was gonna escape this. He's not gonna die. And it's funny. It's like, because John Carpenter's like, when they played the dailies, it's like, I think we're gonna go with the time of like where Sam Loomis knows that, like, oh, of course he knew it. It's like, yep, that's what I was gonna tell you to do anyways. And so Donald Pleasance, once again, but you're just fucking with the director the entire time. It's so great. That's why I love him so much. He's so good. And I can't. Does this film have holes? Absolutely. Is it a paper tiger in a lot of ways? Sure. But it's so good in every way. I have no negatives about this film.
I'm curious, Andy, where would you put this? Like, let's say you were recommending horror movies to a friend of yours that wasn't a horror movie fan and says, "Hey, Andy, give me your top 3 horror movies that you would want me to watch to kind of get into the genre of that." Would this be number 1? Would it be in the top 5, top 10?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, without a doubt, in the top 10. Most likely in the top 5. I don't know if I'd say number 1, but yeah, definitely. Like no question, it would be in the top 10. Probably top 5. But yeah, this would definitely be one of the movies that I would recommend people, who who aren't familiar with like kind of like the slasher type of horror movie, and they just need something to dip their toe into. I think this would be the perfect one, because it's the script is very tight. It really it really makes use of the limited budget that they were offered. So yeah.
How about you, Robert?
This is definitely in the top 5 horror films. Like, I mean, I would include Psycho, which is my top. Psycho is always going to be my number 1 horror film. But yeah, Halloween is not far behind that. It's maybe like 2 or 3. It's because it's so iconic. It's been referenced so much in so many other things, and we wouldn't have like I've been saying, we wouldn't have Friday the 13th. We wouldn't have Nightmare on Elm Street. We wouldn't have Candyman. We wouldn't have the Hellraiser. We wouldn't have those films if it wasn't for Halloween. And so it deserves its place in the top horror films of all time.
I'm going to surprise you guys real quick. Is that I would actually recommend people go check out Poltergeist first.
Oh, yeah. See that?
Oh, yes. Poltergeist would be my top 10. Yeah.
Well, to me,
top 5 for sure.
I would actually recommend Poltergeist first because it's more gory than Halloween is.
Halloween.
Well, again, to reiterate, like for people who are just need to get dip their toe in. But yeah, I would send them to Halloween. But no, yeah, you're right though. You're right though. Poltergeist is more gory.
I would recommend Poltergeist first, and then they go to watch Halloween, and you see, a couple scenes with breasts in it, and then because it's not overly gory. I mean, there's a little bit of blood.
Not at all.
You don't see Annie's head cut off. It's insinuated that it is. Mm-hmm. But I mean, again, it's like, okay, you go watch this. Now watch Halloween, so you see some boobs and you see the F word a little bit, and that's it. Plus, the score will kick you in the nuts.
Dude, actually, that's a movie we need to do with you is Poltergeist.
Oh my God, Poltergeist is fucking awesome.
That movie is awesome too, and dude, I have some stories that I've read about, like the girl that's in that. Oh,
Heather O'Rourke.
Yeah, she had colitis or something like that and passed away from it.
So there is talk that there was some sexual abuse that happened with her, which caused that issue.
Ugh.
And it's so horrifying. But the movie itself is so good that I definitely want to talk about it.
Oof. What a great movie that is, by the way.
That's one of my favorite movies. It's so fucking good.
Toby, Steven Spielberg, come on.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys, your podcast talking about Nope, and it's like that is like a Jaws movie, but Poltergeist is definitely in that too. Like, there's definitely references to Poltergeist in Nope, maybe, but it has that that Spielberg feel.
It's got that blockbuster kind of just like this big budget feel of big sound, big visuals, So yeah, I guess you're right. You know, I guess visually and the sound design would really have a big poltergeist feel to it. So yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, and it's like I definitely you know based off of your guys' review, I'm gonna go to the theaters to watch Nope. That's how much I was like I was so inspired by your guys' review. It's like fuck, I gotta go to the theaters and watch this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Andy froze up a little bit there.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry.
But I don't know. Do you guys have any other like final thoughts on Halloween? Like, you know, what John, why don't you give your final thoughts on Halloween and maybe like the franchise of Halloween? Like, what are your thoughts?
Let's see. I'll start off with the movie Halloween itself. Is that this movie's a gem? You know, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill teamed up together to produce this movie and did such a wonderful job of creating, you know, a subgenre of slashers or elevating the subgenre of slashers. You know, what Black Christmas did. The score is unbeatable. It's so
Great.
iconic that anytime you listen to it, that you know what it's from. You know, the character of Michael Myers as the antagonist of the movie, who that is. So I think there are zero problems with this movie. I think that you could point out little nitpick stuff, but I think anybody that is curious about horror movies needs to check this out. And I know that anybody that loves horror movies, it's got to be at least in your top 10, if not top 5.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Is this like I had another question too. I was just like, so you know, you've talked about this? Is this your favorite horror film?
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, like 100%. Like, you know, it's like if you were gonna choose, like, tell people like top 5 horror films, you got to watch this one first.
It would be number 1 for me. The only reason why I say Poltergeist is because it's more accessible, because it's actually a PG rated movie, but it is more gory than what Halloween is, and it came out in like 83 or something like that. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, Andrew, what are your thoughts on like Halloween and everything?
Yeah, really great movie. Like you guys said, you know, like uplifting up like a subgenre, or just like kind of refreshing or revitalizing the subgenre of like slasher for horror. Um, yeah, I mean, again, to John's point, like, yeah, there's some nitpicky things, but you know, ultimately, you know, it's a really tight and you know, well like plotted out script. Yeah, and I would recommend this to people, you know, who are looking to, you know, try to get into like the slasher, you know, subgenre of horror movies. This would be, you know, obviously a good place to start for that.
What did you think of Michael Myers?
Oh, you know, obviously one of one of the like best like movie villains, for sure. You know, no doubt about it. Um, you know, in a weird way, I would put him up there with like in terms of movie villains. I would put him up there with Darth Vader.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, at least like from like the first Star Wars, you know, because in the same way that Vader has like that mysterious air to him in the first Star Wars, you know, A New Hope. Michael Myers, he has that same kind of air too, where it's like, you know, you don't know exactly where he comes from. Um, you know, you just know that, you know, he's like this force and like this, you know, like pure evil.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. That's a fantastic point, actually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So like at least Vader from the first Star Wars, you could definitely make a comparison to Michael Myers.
Yeah, very very mysterious character. He doesn't say a lot either, in the breathing thing too.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Like Michael Myers never speaks a word. We never hear a word from Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. All we hear is
even as a little kid. you know, he puts the mask on and you hear the little kid breathing heavy, and that's it.
And
Yeah,
we
that's
just hear, like the little points of him breathing heavy, but yeah, we never hear a line of dialogue from Michael Myers.
no.
Would you consider this your favorite, John? Would this be your favorite John Carpenter film?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you that I've really come into my own as far as like appreciating The Thing from '82.
It's so fucking good. I love that film so much.
It really is. I really enjoyed Escape from New York. I thought that was They Live. I mean, if you want a popcorn horror movie,
oh yeah, They Live. Come on.
great time.
I'll be honest, I have never seen They Live.
Ooh. Oh, it's on Shudder now, by the way, buddy. You've got my lock-in.
So. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch it for sure.
Go check it out. Yes, this is by far my all-time favorite Carpenter movie, but I would say close second is The Thing, just because of I'm not a big sci-fi horror guy, but like what that did with sci-fi horror and just the isolation of that movie was so beautifully done.
Have you? I think we talked a little bit about. Have you ever watched the original, The Thing? You know.
From the 50s, I think it was.
Yeah, it's like The Thing, Beyond, like, you know, space or something like that. I forget what the full title is. I would highly, if you're gonna watch The Thing, watch the original and watch them back to back. I think you really like it.
I'll find it for sure. Absolutely. Good suggestion.
It's fairly readily available. I think you'd really like it.
Cool. I'll check it out for sure, man.
Yeah, I know you're a sci-fi horror guy, but that film is really fucking good. It's really good.
I'll check it out. How about you, Robert? How you feeling about Halloween? Where does it sit on your echelon as far as classics?
This is, like I said, this is cinematic archaeology. Like, this is one of those films that we've all seen, and even if you've never seen the film, you've seen the film. We all know the mask. We all know who Michael Myers is. We all know who Laurie Strode is. We all know who Dr. Sam Loomis is. You know, some people have, you know, even gone as far back with Psycho, and they're thinking like, oh, the same, you know, that's Dr. Loomis. So the Dr. Loomis from, you know, Halloween is the same doctor from Psycho, and so there is this like connection to these, like, you know, horror films, and the fact that like Halloween has spawned not only its own, you know, like 12 sequels and like reboots and remakes, but it's created, it really revitalized or created the slasher genre with Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Candyman, Hellraiser, Scream. You know, those movies don't happen without this film. And I really do enjoy the original Halloween. I think it, like I said, it's simplistic. It's easy to access. It's not one of those like cerebral movies where oh, we have to, like, you know, why aren't the characters doing this or that, or why isn't the doctor doing this or that? It's like you have to kind of fill in the gaps yourself as a audience. And, you know, the newer audience is not necessarily going to come into you know, like I said, my wife is very new to this stuff. She's looking at this like, all the characters are stupid. I hate them all. They're dumb. They're naive. It's stupid. And for me, I'm like, okay, I know about the past. Like, yeah, you know, you look at these small towns, they're not locking their doors. They're not thinking about this stuff. And the stuff that we know as an audience are privy to, like, you know, some of the happenings of like Michael Myers killing his sister 15 years ago. And the scary thing is, oh, now it's become the spook house. It's the scary house. Nobody wants to go there. But no one's locking their doors. And it's kind of this whole other thing. And I love this film so much. It's so good. I would say, like, if you're going to watch horror, if you're getting into the horror genre, this is the top 5 films of horror genre. You have to watch this film. It's you know, like I said, I'm a classic horror guy. I love Phantom of the Opera. I love Dracula. I love Frankenstein, The Wolfman, Creature in the Black Lagoon. But if you have to watch this film, it's right up there with those guys for me.
Yeah, I think what indicates a classic is it transcends time. And yes, you could have people that go like, well, yeah, they're stupid. But I think what the genre does nowadays is really play into that trope and just make it silly. Whereas,
this film is not silly at all.
Yeah, and that's what Carpenter did with it. Is like he doesn't play with it as silly. It's just naivete, or age.
Exactly.
Regardless of how old the actors were in this,
right.
is that
like the age that they're portraying though is
correct? That you're you being naive is just a product of your age. We've all been through it. Of we thought a certain way and we felt a certain way about different topics. Of leaving your door open in 1978 was not a bad thing. And in 1985 you got a guy like in Los Angeles, the Night Stalker would walk into his house. Yeah. And it didn't become a thing. Obviously we know that, for muscle memory now of like lock your fucking doors because, you could have some psycho killer walk into your house at any given time. But back then it wasn't a thing. It wasn't like you have that fear of this. So
yeah, and I think John Carpenter was aware of this too, because you have like the broadcast, like when they're watching the monster movies, like shut your windows, lock your doors. It's that's what he was. I think that was
right. That was like a meta commentary about like what these characters should be doing, but they're not.
Andy, you're right. And I think that just plays into the fear of, even in the 50s when they played War of the Worlds on radio,
Orson Welles on the radio. It's like people thought that was fucking happening. That's how scary people are scared as shit.
Yeah, and that was the movies that were playing at the time. It's not like this really can happen to you. By that time it was just like, oh, it was all a hoax. It was acting. That's all it was. And it's just like, there's this real thing going on, which kind of, projected. And again, Andy, I thought you brought it up as being meta, that it's like, yeah, it did happen in the 80s, Ted Bundy.
We had the Zodiac Killer, the Son of Sam. We had all this shit that was going on at that time.
Eras, absolutely, It was just shit like that was going on where you're like, oh, shit, yeah, I got to lock my door.
Yeah, Gacy and this was after the whole Manson killing and shit. It's just like fuck. It was a time, but it wasn't necessarily hitting these like small suburban subtowns that Haddonfield was portraying. And I totally understand like the naivete of the characters. It totally makes sense. It's not. It doesn't take you out of the film if you understand the time. I think a lot of audiences today would look at this like my wife, who she's younger than all three of us, and she's like, they're all stupid. And like say. Yeah, it's funny. I hate to say it. She did like the Rob Zombie remake much more. To her, it made much more sense, and to her, to a generation like her, I think it's like I guess I understand why it made more sense to her.
But wouldn't that generation of the Rob Zombie one like make more sense of why Michael Myers was empathetic, of why he became?
Yeah, I think to her it made more sense.
Okay.
And and maybe we are of a generation whereas like we look at like the original, it's like, yeah, we like the simplicity of it, but that's not necessarily what everyone nowadays like. Although there are new horror fans that are being made every single day. It's like guys, people that are listening to your podcast that Cut Above, I guarantee that they're like, fuck, I haven't thought about this movie. Like, let's watch this. Like, hell yeah, let's watch this.
That's true. And it's just more of a different perspective of everything, and I get that. I appreciate people's perspective of movies and what they view and what they find like classics now. I'm not going to find a classic, or Jacqueline, or Robert, or Andy, or Heidelberg, like whoever's watching a movie. I mean, we're all going to view it objectively or subjectively of this is what we really, really like. For me, the Halloween is tip top. It's like with you, Robert. You love the Universal horror movies. Like for me, I've never been a fan of those, but I appreciate them. I appreciate all horror.
I know people nowadays are like, Dracula, fuck that movie. It's black and white. Who gives a shit about that film from like 100 years ago? Who gives a shit?
Well, they're stupid, but they have to appreciate it.
Yeah, but you don't get Halloween if you don't have these films too. It's one of those things, like it's a progression point, like where you don't get these films if like these other films didn't start, like Phantom of the Opera or Nosferatu. That's another really fucking scary film that does what we talked about, like Sam Loomis is Van Helsing. It's one of those things where like that film doesn't happen if this film doesn't happen.
Right. Here's the one thing is that horror movies have never got a lot of love, like when it comes to awards, right? So
it's bullshit.
We actually recently did Misery, which was a fantastic film. Kathy Bates.
How would you get any awards is bullshit.
No, Kathy Bates actually got Best Supporting Actress, I think, for that. But I'm just talking about.
Did she actually win?
She did. Actually, I was looking back at like dramas, right, or even period pieces and stuff like that. How many people remember the movie Life is Beautiful? It was about the Holocaust,
right?
About a dad that really tried to portray,
shelter his son from like the horrors going around him.
Yeah,
I remember in school. It's fucking horrifying.
It is, but you don't remember that. But I mean, there are certain genres of movies where you just really, it resonates with you. So if you talk about your favorite films, to me, it's always horror. It's always like crime dramas, and it's always like period pieces. For me, if you think about that, Schindler's List from Spielberg. It's like you always think about that movie, or you always think about The Godfather. Or you always think about a movie like The Exorcist. It's just always top of mind that it's so, like movies that are so impactful. I think horror movies have shit movies, and there's a lot of forgettable movies. We've done a bunch of movies.
Every genre has shit movies.
Yeah, I just went, oh yeah, we did talk about that one, but apparently it was like awesome, but apparently not that awesome because I've already forgot about it.
Yeah. Like you said, and Halloween is one of those films you can't forget about it. Never. It's like it's everyone's, like I said, The Godfather is one of these. Indiana Jones, Halloween. All these films are like something that like everyone's tried to play off of. Is like, and maybe you forget the original Halloween. Maybe you forget Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Maybe you forget the original Godfather, but a lot of movies play off of those films, and it becomes its own thing. And so and the fact that we can go back and it's like, no, you have to watch these films. These are the better versions of the films that you're watching.
Very, very generational, and we can even go back to Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars just elevated sci-fi to a whole new level.
Yeah, that's one of those films, like, you go back to the serials, from the 20s and 30s, and you go back to, like a lot of the sci-fi films that were happening in the 50s, that's what Star Wars is. It's just elevating what was from the past and making it even better. And it did. The original trilogy of Star Wars is amazing. And it deserves its credit. Andy and I have talked about that ad nauseum. Like we have talked about Star Wars we've talked about it so much. But it's the same thing with some of these horror genres too. Like where, like I said, I love Psycho. I love some of the stuff that Hitchcock did. I love the old classics. But guys like John Carpenter and Wes Craven, they've done like so much with like the franchise. They've taken it to another level, and those films are great too. And they deserve the credit that they have earned. And unfortunately, a lot of these films don't get the Oscar or Emmy credits that they deserve, but they are so fucking good.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the thing is that it's always going to have a fan base, and again, I think we've talked about evolution enough, where it's just it's whatever the genre you're into, you rom-coms, sci-fi, dramas, crime dramas, thrillers, horror. Something's going to elevate it. You know, there's always generational of what you're going to see that elevates it. You know, Halloween was one of those things for me.
Yeah.
The Father, Star Wars, Star Trek. It was just a splattering of genres that just have this level of elevation that other movies have to live up to because it's such a high bar. Jaws, you know, for example. So.
Yeah, exactly. You know that people don't think of that as horror film. Like they think of it as a horror thriller, but that's a horror film.
It is. I want to go watch Halloween again, guys.
But I know, like it's like you said, it's one of those films that it's so good. It's so simple. It's easy to digest, and it brings me back to those Universal monster movies. That's what it is. You have and like I said, I look at it as like Dracula. You know, it's like and how much I love that film. That's how much I love Halloween. And it's I have no bad things to say about Halloween. Are there holes in the film? Absolutely. I understand the holes. I understand like the people, why people would be like, this movie sucks. Fuck this movie. But I don't care.
I think the only problem I ever had with it was Michael Myers knew how to drive, and the second is a lot of the daytime shots you saw palm trees in Haddonfield, Illinois, which we see here in Southern California plenty, but
right
in the Midwest.
But that's really it. That's really it. It's like who gives a shit at that point?
Yeah, true. Very true.
Do you, John or Andy, do you have any final thoughts about Halloween?
Oh God, for me, it's just go check it out. If you have not seen this movie, just give it a shot. It's very accessible on all your streaming services. Give it one watch. If you hate it, you can at me or wherever. But again, I think you're not going to be disappointed because of the score, the iconic character, and just the overall presentation of this movie is so good. I think you're going to love it.
Yeah. Andy, how about you? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
No, I left it all on the field, man. I got nothing left.
Did you like the film, Andy?
I mean, were you not listening like this past like few hours? Yes, I did love the film. It was great. Again, I would send people to this movie for sure. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, same thing. Just like I said, this is one of the iconic horror films of all time. It's in, if not your top 5, it should be in your top 10. And like I said, it spawned. Maybe it's a horror film. It's you're a fan of a horror franchise. Guess what? Halloween is the one that spawned that helped create that franchise. Like I said, if you're a fan of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Scream, you don't get those without Halloween. And hopefully you do pay some homage to some of the old horror films like Phantom of the Opera, Dracula, Frankenstein, because all those elements are in this film too. And that's, I'm always pointing people back to the past. I want people to understand what the great films of the past were. And this is one of the great films of the past, but even that film is paying, honor to the great horror films of the past. That's what Halloween does, and I love this film so much. And so I think this, gives it to our final ratings. Like, Andy, what would be your rating out of 5 stars for Halloween?
This would be a 4 for me.
4 for you?
4 for me.
John, how about you?
Easy 5. 5
Easy
out of
5.
5 stars. Oh, easy 5.
I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna go 4.5. I know it. I know Halloween is paper tiger. In a lot of ways. You could poke holes in the film. My wife did for sure, and I'm not saying that I disagree with her in a lot of ways. But I think that based off of when the film was made, what it was talking about, I have no arguments with the film. It's a 4.5 for me. It's as close to a perfect film as you can get. It's so close. And you catch me on the right day, I'm probably gonna give it a 5 because it's so fucking good. I love Donald Pleasance. I love Jamie Lee Curtis and her film debut. Hell, even the teens, like her friend Annie and Linda and Bob. I love those characters. And the guy that played Michael Myers, he's great too. And the mask is scary. The score is scary. John Carpenter's great. I love John Carpenter. I pretty much love all his films. I love Escape to New York, Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween, The Thing. I am all in on John Carpenter.
Did you guys notice the mistake when he broke into the car after they got to the asylum where he had the wrench in his hand, taped to his hand when he broke
I
in?
did see that.
Yeah, I saw
That's
that.
a movie mistake again.
Yeah.
Because they did that because he was not able to break the window without that.
Because it's real glass, so
Yeah.
they couldn't afford the sugar glass because they had water, so they had to use real glass.
All right, because it was raining. It was raining. That's right. Yeah.
Also, great singing. Love it.
For sure.
But, John, I want to thank you. Once again, I love having you on our podcast. You are a dirge of knowledge for us.
Thank you.
A well of knowledge for us, especially when it comes to horror films. You are. I love having you on. You're amazing. I love your podcast. It's so good. And I'm glad we didn't scare you off the first time when we did Henry. And I hope to have you on again, man.
Robert, Andy, thank you guys so much. It's always a pleasure to come on, and we are working on something for you guys, I believe, in September, so I'll shoot you some more info on that, but we'll get you on.
I can't wait. I know the movie that you guys are thinking about for us. I'm going to watch it tonight, and I'm probably going to watch it several times before that happens, so that I want to be prepared. I want to have all the notes. I want to be a good guest for you guys. Hopefully I don't steal the show.
I know you both will steal the show, so we'll just we'll have to shut the fuck up, so I'll let you guys talk.
Yeah, it's like I can't wait. I'm so excited that you guys would even allow us on the podcast. I'm really excited.
We really want to have you guys on. Appreciate you guys again. I mean, this is so much fun. Circle of Jerks podcast. This is the shit. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Andy, do you have any final thoughts before we give our let John talk about where we can reach him?
No, I have nothing. I left it all on the field.
All right, John. Where could people reach you on the interwebs?
Let's see. cutaboveHorrorReview@gmail.com. You can find us on any social medias. Just search a Cut Above Horror Review. We're also on anywhere you get your podcatchers, iTunes, Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio, which fucking blows my mind because they usually edit out anything or anybody that curses.
Why you guys are a family-friendly review? I have no idea.
Weird. iTunes has been weird to us. I've been trying to change that with explicit because we do we do something that says fucks or sucks, whether it's good or bad. So I guess iTunes thinks that's clean. So, but we appreciate the reviews on there. Yeah, anywhere you get your podcast.
Like I said, I have been a regular viewer since I met you, John, and your guys' podcast it fucks. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that man, so much, and appreciate being on with you guys. It's always a blast for sure. Even though we're only like an hour and a half apart. So
yeah, it's but yeah,
without traffic, of course.
Yeah. But I'm super excited to talk about coming on in a couple of weeks to do a review with you. By the time this review comes out, we'll probably be doing the review at the same time. So hey, tomorrow the review for Cut Above with the Circle of Jerks podcast, the Reach Around crew with the Circle of Jerks comes together. So I'm super excited about that.
We're circling around for some circle jerks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I just came up with that, by the way.
Yeah, and I like I said, I'm so happy that you came on, John. I like I said, I know you're busy. You got your own thing going on. I'm really happy you came on, and
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, in fact, I got to do another podcast here in about an hour or two. So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna let you go ahead and do that, and everyone. Go to a Cut Above on Spotify or wherever you reach your podcast. That is a review you guys want to listen to. If you love horror movies, that's the podcast to watch. To listen to.
Listen to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to listen to more of the Circle of Jerks stuff, we do. You can reach us at on Instagram. Circle of Jerks Podcast. If you want to reach us on Twitter, @PodcastCOJ, Letterboxd, @PodcastCOJ. We're always doing stuff on Tuesdays, 6 o'clock Eastern. We do a live stream. This review is going to come out fairly soon. If you like classic video games, you can go to our website. That's Up by Up Down. I do a lot of classic video game playing. Check that out. We are wanting to do more with that, but if there's more views, I will definitely do more classic video games for you guys to enjoy. And we will see you on the next episode.
Deuces.